Hello everyone, we are Team Sniper in the Bach industry. This presentation will outline our overall performance over 8 periods as well as lessons learned along the way. As with all companies in industry Bach, our stock price started at $1,000. We saw a decline in our stock price index from the beginning, eventually leveling out, with our current stock price landing at $286, which is the lowest in our industry. This ranks Snipers in 6th place. However, our total market share of 6% has put us in 5th place against our competition in this category. With a few ups and downs in revenue throughout the simulation, our final total earnings before taxes is $11,141,000. This happens to be the lowest in our industry. We had 3 brands within Sonite's market that targeted 3 consumer segments. We focused our efforts on explorers, savers, and shoppers, with explorers being our most successful brand in terms of market share with 60.7%, followed by savers with 6.9% market share. With our solo brand, we targeted shoppers. However, that was our least successful segment with an overall market share among shoppers of only 1.2%. Our brands consist of Solo and Soft and Solo, as well as Soon, which was launched in period 2. Soft has a total market share of 1.4%. We targeted Soft towards savers, in which we ended with a 3.9% market share among this segment. Soft ranks 5th overall in the savers segment. Our Solo brand was targeted towards shoppers, with a total market share of 1.4% as well. Among shoppers, Solo's market share ended with only 0.9%. However, they had a 2.9% market share among savers. Solo ranked 8th within the shoppers market segment. As I mentioned before, Soon was launched in period 2, at first targeting savers with little success due to competition among our own brands. We repositioned our target segment for Soon towards explorers. Soon's total market share is 3.2%, and among explorers the market share is 60.7%. This puts Soon in 1st place in the explorers segment. Although Soft and Solo's market shares were on the low end of the segments, Soft had an average brand awareness of 59% and Solo was at 60%. Soon trailed with an average brand awareness of 29%.
Okay, lessons learned. Excuse me. When we decided on a segment, we tried our best to meet the segment ideals with each of our R&D projects. Unfortunately, as time went on, the ideals slowly changed. This was especially true for our R&D projects that extended across multiple periods to develop. We also experienced issues with trying to meet and beat our competitors. Our competitors would obviously try to meet and beat the segment ideals just as we were. Unfortunately, since it took a little longer to launch our brand successfully, we fell behind pretty quick with meeting the ideals and beating our competition. The biggest example of this was our Soon brand, which was fully developed during the 1st period. It originally was intended to meet and exceed the saver and shopper segments. Once the brand was launched, it met and exceeded the saver brand only. At that point, we wanted to redirect our segment target for Soon, since all 3 of our brands were competing against each other. I think the biggest lesson learned here would have been to focus on exceeding the segment ideals to stay ahead of the competition, and the segment ideals shift altogether. Next slide, please. During our simulation time this semester, we had many tools at our disposal to do the very best we could to aim our brands at specific segments and to compete with our competition. We probably could have done a better job at understanding a lot of these tools sooner. This may have given us an advantage over our competition if we had some of the knowledge earlier on. This was especially true with the use of perceptual objectives. During the later periods, we started to use perceptual objectives properly, and that certainly boosted our performance. I think if we started using this tool in the earlier periods, our performance might have been much better. Next slide, please. We learned that in marketing, our brands with that marketing, advertising, and commercialization are all dynamic. Each brand each brand that was launched and R&D projects that became similar to hitting a moving target. We tried to use simple mathematics and ratios to take our existing products and apply those attributes, given the semantic scales, to new R&D projects. This proved to be a bit more difficult, especially with the segment ideal shifting. In the later periods, we set our ideals around competition to meet the ideals and beat our competition. This strategy worked much better and should have been done much earlier on. Speaking for myself here, I fell victim to reading too much into certain situations within the simulation. I assumed the simulation took into account too many in-depth items, which caused me to recommend higher production plans. I was able to adjust this ideal in later periods to not read as deep into these situations. If this was done earlier and I listened closer to the rest of the group, our production plans would have been better aligned. Next slide, please.
Segmentation and targeting. We struggled to accurately segment and target our brands. We created 2 and eventually 3 products that all had brand attributes within the Savers and Shoppers segments. This caused our brands to compete against each other. Our multiple product offerings in these segments saturated the market and probably confused customers about our products. We realized that we had to clearly identify and diversify through research and development. Through research and development, we created 3 brands, Soft, Solo, and Soon, and each was focused on an individual segment of the market, Savers, Shoppers, and Explorers. A strong balance of product, place, price, and promotion is required in order to accurately target your market segment. In the beginning of the simulation, we had the weakest products, so we thought we would have success with a low-cost strategy. This success was short-lived as new products were introduced and customers sought better value. We realized we had to compete with more than just price. All 4 Ps must be considered in developing a market strategy. Next slide, please. Product. Over the course of the simulation, our team realized just how important the product actually is. Initially, we focused too heavily on advertising, pricing, and creating a 3rd brand. As the simulation went along, we realized that the perceived quality and value of the product drives revenue. We constantly tried tweaking Soft and Solo to align to ideal values of Savers and Shoppers. By doing this, we also learned that we were chasing the ideal values for each of those segments. We used the lessons learned with Soft and Solo to create an R&D project for Soon. Instead of chasing the ideal values at the time, we created a brand that was well within the Explorer segment and had some attributes exceeding the ideal attributes of the Explorer segment. Soon became our most successful brand, ending with 60.7% market share in the Explorer segment. Next slide.
Price. It was very important to stay competitive with the pricing of our products. We moved our prices higher and lower depending on what our competitors' prices were. We changed the price of our products almost every period. Price increases and reductions do not always mean that brand revenues will increase, though, as many other variables need to be taken into account. One such variable is the ideal values of a customer's brand attributes. Pricing is extremely tied into being in line with the customer's values. In the beginning, Soft was priced lower than its competitors, which was ideal for our Savers segment, but since all other attributes were not ideal, we performed poorly. Furthermore, Solo was priced on the higher end compared to its competitors and was close to ideal, but again, other attributes were below par, thus we didn't have as much brand revenue as our competitors. We also learned that increasing price in parallel with an R&D project that improves brand attributes does not always increase market share and or sales, as seen with our Solo brand. Next slide, please. I messed that up, you guys. We learned quickly that the commercial team needs to coincide with the distribution channel that aligns with our target segment. In the beginning, relative to our competitors, Soft had very weak distribution coverage in specialty stores. We realigned our sales team to increase coverage in this distribution channel to properly align our sales team with shopping habits of savers. Likewise, okay, I'm sorry, you guys. I wasn't.
Want to start over?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is the slide in the right order, or did it?
I have my talking points are not in the correct order of the slides.
Okay.
So which one is the first one? Promotions first.
First, because I can switch it. I mean, that's what when I got
no,
this.
I'll switch my talking points. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Can you guys see the slides on this screen? I'm not seeing. I'm just seeing the little icon for a person.
So if you click on Karen's icon, the slides show up.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so it goes promotion, and then what second?
Price,
and then distribution.
Is that is that the order you want it in?
Yeah, I just switched my talking points. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, we're good. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. So I have to go out of this and restart I gotta see what I have to do for. I'm gonna stop the broadcast. I'm gonna stop sharing first. Hold on. Okay.